Nice to meet you. Thank you again for the invite. And thanks to the audience for joining us today. My name is Ian McClarty. I'm president of PhoenixNAP. We are a global infrastructure as a service provider. We historically focus on the pure IaaS space, but about 24 months ago, we decided to take a stronger pivot into the DevOps community. So we reinvented one of our product lines, which is bare metal dedicated infrastructure, and made it very DevOps focused and friendly. We focused on making sure that it was API first, had a nice orchestration engine built out. We integrated with about 20 different types of your Ansibles, your Terraforms, kind of that CD part of the chain, right? We started focusing more and more efforts towards that. And today, fast track, we have it deployed in 6 different zones, going on 8 zones pretty soon. We have also new locations like Austin and London coming out. So we're pretty excited. We have a pretty decent global reach of the product at this point. We have made a lot of headway into the orchestration side as well, and we're excited to just have a quick delivery mechanism. We've also, at this show, very relevant to the show, have really put a lot of focus on Kubernetes compatibility. So first, we created a nice Kubernetes native controller, and today we're doing a very easy rancher to deploy systems, 5-minute deployment type stacks, great for like labbing out. We're continuing to make investments there. So we have like HA ready Kubernetes clusters in about a week, and we're very excited to take those to the market and get a good adoption rate going for the developer community, make it more friendly. So
very cool. And so with companies looking to pivot or move to the cloud, where would sort of like a bare metal cloud solution help them out versus like with virtualization?
Great question. So from a Kubernetes perspective, let's just remain very focused on that. Kubernetes is agnostic to the underlying hardware, which is great, right? So for companies that are going microservices right now, they have choice on infrastructure, and that's really it isn't just like all in AWS right now. I mean, it's really a choice that they can make. So we were actually speaking with quite a bit of people at the show, and some of them were saying, hey, like, there's like stepping stones to get there, right? I mean, first you have to develop your systems and make sure that they're nice and compatible with the performance-based infrastructure you want to put out there at when you go full deployment stacks. What we find interesting is that by going down a path of more true Kubernetes deployment, instead of like saying, okay, we're only going to do it in AWS a certain manner, they're actually giving themselves a lot of flexibility that way. And so even if they're doing like a lot of development in AWS, you really want your stack to be more abstracted out, right? You want it to be more genericized, so that you can get more flexibility on where you actually end up at the end of the day, right? So from that perspective, Kubernetes gives them a leg up by going that route. Whereas if they focus too much on a platform solution, they're platform tied, right, at that point, versus a promise of being able to scale out and kind of have flexibility around where your IaaS goes.
Very cool. And then just from your sort of unique perspective, what are some of the trends you're seeing this year and sort of working with customers?
Great question. So we see definitely a journey, right, for a lot of people going through. I would say a very small subset of the market is still truly microservices, and really there. I mean, usually newer companies. Your enterprise customers are catching up quick though, and they're making more and more investments there. And so any new app development that they're doing is definitely in that space, right? I did notice, and I don't know again if it's a COVID thing, but I noticed still some recruitment here at KubeCon. Not as much as like San Diego, right? But there's still recruitment going on, active. I mean, and it's interesting because you see the recruitment not just from the sponsors this year, but you see the recruitment also from people just attending the show, right?
What are they doing? They're just putting hire me?
Yeah, no, they're putting we are hiring. Actually.
Oh, okay.
So the people attending the show are
like actually, stop and ask me for a job.
Yeah,
got it.
So that will continue, right? I mean, it's obviously, and you can see where the investments are being made, right, by companies. Right. So that's also just an observation, right? That we've seen. Kubernetes is still hot. It's still at an infancy stage for a lot of companies.
Right.
But the adoption rates are definitely getting more mature. You can tell also by the ecosystem itself. You're seeing a lot more competition for hey, I need analysis software of some sort, right? You're seeing more competition in that space. Yeah, I need backup and recovery. You're seeing more competition there, right? So that kind of tells you that it's a very relevant ecosystem at this point too.
Yeah, the market responds to pain points.
Mm-hmm. So we're definitely seeing more of that happening.
Very cool. And if you look into your crystal ball for next year, we're in Q4 already for this year. What is maybe like one trend that you're super excited about that you think will really be a big one next year? And is there one that maybe you think is really gone too far under the radar that will also bubble up next year?
Great question. So I believe telemetry is going to be more, right? I mean, we're definitely going to see more telemetry of just application performance, right? Going on through. I think, it was interesting that you're seeing competition also from the more enterprise and versus like the commercial open source vendors. I think that's going to heat up, and competition is a good thing. I think everybody has to step up their game, right? So the ecosystem, I think is going to keep on growing. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to continue to grow. But we will definitely see more vendor maturity as well coming in. With and vendors that have like competitive product lines will continue to be the norm. There isn't like what isn't clear right now is what pony to bet on. So I think a lot of safety is making sure that your system is as agnostic as possible is a good safe play right now. I think people that do that and don't over emphasize too much on one technology stack, I think they'll be doing much better because it's not clear who's actually gonna be there in the long term, right? Especially as competition is going to be coming in more.
Yeah, so many companies that get stuck into legacy systems and have to acquire all that technical debt without any flexibility. You'll definitely understand that type of thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also vendor diversity too. I mean,
Right,
you look at your vendors, which vendors are really, there's a lot of good startups, right?
Right.
A lot of good startups, and I hope a good subset of them make it, right? So it's also interesting seeing the startups in competition with some of the more mature, established providers that are out there. That is one nice thing about Kubernetes. It kind of right now it feels like it's more even playing field for everybody.
Right.
But we'll see how the different more enterprise engines coming in and with a bigger force, right? As they start to penetrate the market, some of the startups are really going to have to like work better with each other and also try to be as competitive as possible with against some of the bigger entities.
And kind of one thing to kind of pivot on that is then for workflows. So you see a lot of tools come in, but it's like for developer teams or SREs or DevOps, they're like, I don't really, this is nice and a shiny tool, but how is this going to help my workflow?
Yeah.
And then for your company, where could it actually help, the teams with their workflow? Because at the end of the day, we've got to move faster, but without all that friction.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say on the CD side of the house, right, that's why we keep on investing in different integration points there. And what I'm seeing also is a shift are people that are trying to do the like a better pipeline integration, like where it's more commoditized and it's very easy to deploy. Now, I don't think again there isn't a set pony yet or technology stack that seems to be winning over anybody else's. I mean, competition is good, right? So I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of developers. They kind of get stuck in a way of deploying code, and it becomes like their go-to. Like, hey, I do Jenkins, and that's all I do, right? They are missing. There's definitely some missing of being able to experiment with new technology stacks. And it doesn't seem like there's an underlying one that's winning right now. So it's a little bit of everything right now. Still, the market's still very young, right, in that regard. Even though there's more entries and more players, so I think the choices are great, but I also believe that there isn't like a set standard way of doing it either.
Right, got it. Is this your first KubeCon?
No, this is our first KubeCon actually sponsoring.
Okay.
But we actually attended the San Diego one, and that was a big eye opener for me. That was the first show I've ever been to that there were booths that were just about recruitment. Like, what is Home Depot doing there, right? No, but seriously, but it was a good conversation. It was a cool conversation to have with them. They're like, hey, we're doing all this AI analytics, predictive analytics around fleets, right? Our fleet, for commercial vehicles, right? We have to be able to predict a natural disaster quickly and be able to deploy our fleets because, cities themselves, they can't afford to have like all of this like cleanup crew, like type equipment, right?
Right.
So they have to move it across the country. They only have so much of it. Thank God we only have so much catastrophes going on at the same time, right? And so they have to be doing it in a very predictive way. And so they're using Kubernetes stacks and artificial intelligence quite a bit to be able to predict better. Have their algorithms be smarter so that they can kind of forecast when a catastrophe is going to happen and get the fleet out there as fast as possible.
Yeah, especially around the supply chain considerations. Yeah, very cool. And since this is now your second, what has been maybe like a favorite moment or something that you've really enjoyed being at KubeCon?
So at KubeCon this year, it's been a really good partnership
Nice.
because, well, from a vendor perspective, it's been great. Like the interactions. I think there's a lot of good partnership opportunities. We don't have a lot of competition in a sense, right? Because we're more like we're bare metal infrastructure IaaS, right? We work well with like the people that are delivering either say an analytics engine or they're trying to do an endpoint for like their backups, right? We're a really good marriage for that. So for us, it's been a really good partnership. Wish I would have seen more physical activity, right? Because obviously it's a relatively small show in that regard. A lot of good virtual events, a lot of good virtual sessions, but the physical side of the house is definitely different, right? It's not the same.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And last question. So then, for those wanting to learn more about you, are you on Twitter where people can find you?
Mhm.
Is there a website where people can learn more about your company and offerings?
Yeah, thank you. So we have PhoenixNAP.com.
Okay.
So the bird NAP.com is our or PNAP.com also for even easier to get to us.
Nice.
I'm on LinkedIn. Easy to find on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just my name. I'm pretty friendly, so to reach out. I do have a Twitter handle also, PHXMCC. Again, pretty easy to reach out as well. So yeah, we'd love to chat with anybody.
And anything else cool, exciting you want to let people know about? Events you're going to be at, or?
Yeah, so we do have we have channel partners coming up again on the channel side of the house. We tend to be pretty friendly with just MSPs and MSSPs. I love working with organizations because we're a pure IaaS provider. We don't do any managed services. We deliver a large scale web scaler infrastructure, and that's what we do well. So we don't compete with them either, which is nice. So we'll be at that show next.
Awesome. Well, Ian, I'm glad to meet you out here at your second KubeCon show.
Yeah.
Great to connect with you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.